Radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. And of course, a special live edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider. We love it when we could do this. Loved it when we did it for the opening episode of the season. So we said, let's do it again with my man, Timmy Mack. Tim McCormick was once one of the best players in the best player in the state of Michigan, out of Clarkston High School, made his way to the University of Michigan, where he ruled the hardwood for the Maize and Blue, became a first-round draft pick in the National Basketball Association, where he played for 10 seasons and then became one of the best basketball commentators in the land, still one of the best basketball commentators in the land. But I like to call him, most of all, my friend, my guy, my man, my big fella, Timmy Mack. You know him as Tim McCormick. Tim, how you doing?
Good. I have a new name. Would you like to hear it?
What is it?
Grandpa Tim.
Grandpa Tim.
Yeah. Kellen McKenzie had a little baby girl 2 weeks ago, and I'm in Grand Rapids getting a chance to know her. And there's nothing better, Sam. Amazing.
That's cool. That is super, super.
Happy Halloween to you.
So happy Halloween to you too. So we know you're a ball player. No, Kellen was a ball player. So is Mackenzie. Is she destined? I mean, is your granddaughter Mackenzie?
Yeah, she's my daughter-in-law.
Okay, what's your granddaughter's name?
So her name is Maeve, Maeve.
Okay.
And I held her for like 2.5 hours. She never cried. I've got the magic touch, Sam.
So is Maeve, has Kellen, has he already made it clear she destined to be a ball player too?
Yeah. So yesterday I was sharing with her something that my dad told me when I was young. He said, your mind is powerful, and when you sleep, think about growing. And if you do, you will grow. Now, I don't know if it works, but I am 7 foot tall, so it
doesn't work.
It can't hurt. Somebody should have told you that, Sam, when you were growing up.
That doesn't work. Trust me. Anyway,
Sam, when you were a little kid, I bet you put on like a Michigan hoodie, and we're just a Michigan man every year for Halloween, right?
Oh, dude, for many years, for sure. Listen, folks, you know how we do it on the Michigan Basketball Insider. We are talking about the hardwood Wolverines, looking ahead to the season that will be. It is upon us. Another exhibition game in the rear, which we will kind of broad brushing, some takeaways as we talk about a broader sort of broadcast or forecast, I should say, for the season. Got a chance to talk to Dusty a couple of times as well. And you listen to the commentators across the country, the more they get a chance to see them, more are jumping on the bandwagon of this not only maybe being the best team in the Big Ten, Tim, but maybe being the best team in the country, right? As we dig into them more, I think we are getting a better feel for just how good they are, what their strengths are. But I'm starting to pick away at, or trying to pick away at, what are going to be the things that might trip them up? What are going to be the things that might give them trouble? Now, I don't read too much into exhibition games, but it is glaring to me, something that I've talked to Dusty about, and he's talked to the media about, the turnovers in the first couple of exhibition games. Hasn't been a thing in practice, but Tim, has been a thing in these games. How concerned are you about turnovers, even though that's not supposed to be a thing for this particular team this season?
Yeah, it's a massive concern to me. I've watched 2 games and 4 practices, and I think it's something they can tighten up. But in game situations, and I thought that Cincinnati and playing against St. John's on the road were really smart tests, because that will expose your weaknesses. And they saw that the same problem as last year is creeping into this team. Now, once again, I love the fact that they were very, very pointed in who they scheduled. They wanted someone that was going to address their issues from last year. Number one, physicality. Last year's team, not physical enough. Defensive rebounding last year, a problem. Okay. Those two areas I think they've addressed. The big question is, can they protect the ball? And I saw it, you saw it. I mean, some just really poor decisions, careless passes, just throwing the ball cross court in transition, making plays off of 1 foot instead of 2. Those are issues, and they have to be addressed. And because they have so much depth, they go 10 deep, and it's really hard to play 10. I would use my bench as a message that for some of the support guys, if you throw the ball away, if you're careless, come on over here. Let's sit down and talk about it for a little while, because they cannot afford that. And Sam, they do have Final Four potential. I'm convinced of that. They've got everything that you need except for the turnovers. And I still worry about who the backup point guard is. I don't see a backup point guard. Someone may develop into it, but to say LJ is a backup point guard right now, I'm not seeing that. It's more than dribbling the ball up the court and calling a play and passing it to your teammate. Like, it's a mindset. It's how the offense flows, because when Elliot Cadeau is on the floor, the ball zips around, and he's a little bit careless too at times, but the ball movement is so much better when you've got a true point guard.
Yeah, so I want to come back to that point, because it is a very key one, and something that right now concerns me more than the turnovers, and and I'll tell you why on that point now, and maybe do so with a question. How much of what we've seen with these turnovers is they've been exhibition games, Tim, and got to tell the guys, hey fellas, listen, you need to tighten up. This is more serious than maybe we've taken these contests. Combined with that, it's another new team. Now, maybe it's not that. I'm asking you as a guy who's played, as a guy who's coached, how much of what we've seen with how loose they've been with these balls is the fact that you've had a lot of new players coming together, and that they've been exhibition games, and the fact that at least in that Cincinnati game, but you had Roddy Gale playing, backup point guard essentially for a good portion of that game.
Yeah, I don't think the turnover problem is terminal, but it's something that's at times it's going to rear its ugly head. Look, I was super impressed going on the road against Rick Pitino and St. John's. First road game, new players against a really physical team. And by the way, they're in the top 10. And by the way, Michigan found a way to win the game without their A game. And so that impressed me a lot. But I watched both of the exhibition games without really taking any notes or without study, just kind of watching it as a fan. And Michigan does a lot of good things. But one thing that you and I talked about last week, and here I'm nitpicking. I love this roster. I'm so excited about it. I think they're going to be great. But if we're going to be objective and really look and try to dive into it, I also have concerns about off the dribble. Is this a team where they've got a bunch of guys, just give them the ball and they're going to blow by their man and create? And that's something. Look, if they had everything, they'd be in the NBA. Okay, they're a college team trying to fill holes and try to get to know each other. They've got so many good things going on, but it's fun to talk about ways that they can get better.
Yeah, so that to me is my bigger concern, because when most of their turnovers were like in the first 20, 30 minutes of the game. That's like a lot of games. But you go to overtime. When the game got thick, when the game got more contested and real, so to speak, they tightened up considerably.
Yes.
So that says something to me. Like you said, it's not terminal. I feel like I'm taking into account what Dusty said, that they haven't really in practice been turning it over a lot. I think that's gonna that's going to be the case. This part about having a player on the team other than LJ that can, be an initiator offensively. I think that's a thing, man. When Elliott is on the floor, he can create. He can create for himself. He can create for others. And a very subtle play for me. Early in the second half against St. John's, he comes down the floor, gets a ball screen at the top. He drives left. There's nothing. A die goes down in the post, sets up. Now, yeah, Elliott crosses over to his left and then drives the lane and goes to the basket. So, he drives right. He changes direction, goes back left, goes down the lane. Who else on the team can do that? Who else on the team can, just subtly? I mean, this is not, he wasn't in attack mode. He wasn't, doing all kind of, creative things off the bounce. And this wasn't an isolation thing where he was, hey, give me the ball and I'm going to attack off the dribble. This was just, hey, probing the offense, probing the defense, and wound up a basket or a drive to the rim being the best play, as opposed to finding someone else. But who else on the team can do that, Tim, is my point. And the only guy I really see is LJ. Now, where is he in his development is the question. I really think that he is going to be a key player, backup point guard, backup initiator, guy who can trigger the offense, creator. They need for him to elevate his game, because I think he is going to be crucial as the only other guy on this team that can give them some of what Elliott gives them when he's on the floor.
So I noticed something about LJ which impresses me. Also, I'll say Roddy Gale at times has downhill finisher abilities, but you're right. LJ Kaysen is the second guy. He looks to me like he's worked on his leg strength in the off season, and why that's important. When you get to the lane, you've got to gather off 2 feet, explode. And then the subtle part is landing on 2 feet. That shows me that you've jumped on balance and your core is really engaged. I think he's improved in that area. I also think for him to be effective, that it would be great if he could be a 35% three-point shooter to set up the drive. So people have to come out on closeouts and he can go by them. When I think about the effectiveness of driving, like there's a lot of different skills in basketball that can make you really good. And I played on a New York Knicks team that had a go-to guy, Patrick Ewing. And it's really clear that Yaz is the go-to guy on this team. And he's surrounded by guys that are really good players, but not necessarily blow-by drivers. That Knicks team had Damian Wilkins and John Starks and Mark Jackson. Like those guys could get by their guy, but they were more crafty. And with Patrick Ewing and Xavier McDaniel and like some guys that just commanded a lot of respect just by them being out there, created gaps and holes for them, for their teammates to get to the rim. I think that Yaxel's going to create a ton of space and open shots for everybody, which will make them better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he caught fire. Like he started out hot, and there was like this lull, and then it was like, okay, time for me to get back busy, right?
Yeah.
He has that ability to really take over, which is going to be a luxury for this team, I think, because as much as we saw last year, Danny was obviously really good, first round draft pick. Vlad was really good, right? Did you ever feel like, man, give him the ball, he's gonna dominate the game? I mean, there were times where that happened with both of those, but I'm talking about game in, game out. This is going to be a guy who's going to take over. I think they have that with Yax this year.
Yeah. When you look at last year's team, weren't really quite sure who was going to lead the team in scoring. Vlad and Danny, best options, but there were probably 5 guys that led the team in scoring. I don't see that happening with this team. They've got star power with the excellent, and I think he's going to be that reliable scorer that you expect to lead the team in scoring every night. Like if he does what he's supposed to do, I could see him as a 20-point per game scorer. Can he lead the Big Ten in scoring this year? He certainly would be on the short list of guys capable, but he's so much more than that. Could he lead the Big Ten in rebounding, block shots, steals? Like he led the team in all 5 categories last year at Alabama Birmingham. Points, rebounds, blocks, steals, assists. The only other guy in college basketball that led his team in all 5 categories, Sam?
Who's that?
Cooper Flagg.
That's good company. Obvious, right?
Yeah.
Great company. So, yeah, man, it's gonna be a really, really fun time to see this team sort of blossom and develop, and I think play through some of these ills that we see. Now, you talked about a really deep team, man. How many players do you think that they'll play regularly with a obviously a very talented team? But some coaches believe if you play more than 8 players regularly, you're going to compromise. You're going to compromise, like you were talking about some of the issues that they were having in this past game, this exhibition game, for instance. I mean, you had some guys deep on the bench that were maybe a little loose with the ball, for instance. I mean, how many guys do you think they'll play regularly on this team as they get deeper into the season?
Yeah, I see them going 9 deep with Trey McKinney as their 9th man, but he's too talented to keep off the court. So you're going to have to expand. I don't see him as a backup point guard option.
Yeah,
there's too much on his plate right now as a freshman. Winters Grady is a potentially a Duncan Robinson type of shooter, and so it's nice to have a guy like that. If you have an injury or foul trouble, to get him some run. This Michigan team's going to blow some people out this year, so I think that you're going to see him a lot late second half. Getting the last 10 minutes of the game to make sure that he's developing. But Michigan's going to play 8 guys heavy. Trey McKinney is going to play between 10 and 15 minutes per game, and Winters Grady is it's optional. When you can get him in, you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting also to see when you get into conference play. I was watching a die. This is the first time we saw the big fellas out there, and like I know Morez, I know what we're gonna get from him when it gets thick and it gets physical, right? I know what we're going to get from a die as a passer. He had a great bounce pass to Yaks going to the rim. They came down. They doubled a die in the middle. He found I think it was Roddy going to the rim for a dunk. Like, this dude has amazing passing ability, but when they get into him physically, I want to see what that's going to be like for him in once they get into conference play. This is his first time out there, and so I'm kind of interested to see what that's going to be like this year. What do you expect from Adai Mara this year?
So I don't think he's an NBA player yet, but he's too big and too good at passing the ball. He's got some Zach Edey in him. Zach is just more power, but he's become an effective NBA player. When you watch Adai play, there's so much room for growth. For instance, when you look at his number one weakness, it's his center of gravity is really high. So a guard could actually root him right out of the post because he can hit him down low, get into his legs, and he doesn't have an answer for that. One thing that I like to see in big men is if they walk towards the rim, like with their face, their chest pointed at the rim, and then spin back out. When somebody's walking towards the rim trying to get position, like if you elbow him in the chest, that's a foul. Mm-hmm. So that's his path to be able to get deeper position. I'd like to see him try to do that. Also, you can tell that his players love the fact that when he has the ball, they make harder cuts, Sam. There's no question about it, because they know he has a Bill Walton like ability to see the court. Not saying he's Bill Walton, but like the idea that he can really find people. The other thing that we haven't really seen much in the exhibitions that you're going to see a lot this year is, I think he's their best lob threat. You put it anywhere near the rim, man, he can really catch and finish. Sam, you haven't seen it yet, but very soon you're going to say, Tim, I didn't realize that he could throw that. You know, he could run and finish at the rim like that. You're going to like that a lot.
Okay, all right, we'll see. That's the case. I think they are going to be. I think they're going to be an excellent transition team because they're going to be an excellent rebounding team. They were getting up and down in that game. They didn't stop the ball. But, I didn't like their transition defense in that game. But boy, they were able to really get out on the break in that St. John's game. That was impressive to see. So that's going to be a strength for this team this year, I believe. And then one guy we haven't talked about in both of these first couple of weeks that I got to have you comment on before we get out of here is Will Cheddar and his role on this year's team. Certainly, he's going to be a big-time three-point shooter for this squad. We did, I guess, touch on him a little bit last week when you talk about his mentality and physicality that he's going to bring for this team. But leadership, Tim, I don't think there's any question. Like, you go to a practice, you look at this, look at a game, man, brings a ton of leadership to this Michigan team.
Sam, if I could play with any player on Michigan's team, I would choose Will Cheddar. I think he is such a good guy, positive ray of light every day. He's the kind of guy that if you are a little bit down, he'll sense it. He'll come right over and sit down and talk to you. He's just all about team. I would hire that guy if I owned a business. If he lived down the street, I would make him my best friend. I love what Will Cheddar does for this team. He's an unbelievable leader. He's a fantastic communicator. And remember that this is one sign that shows you how much better this team is this year than last. Will Cheddar was the team's backup center behind Golden last year. And he's not at all a backup center. He's not a great rebounder. He's not a rim protector at all. Can struggle a little bit on defense, but this guy can shoot. And they said, hey, I know you're a backup center. We had you bulk up. We had you get stronger. We had you hit the weights. Now we're going to ask you to completely transform your body again. And we want you to become a small forward, a court spacer, a guy that can play in transition, a guy that's improved on containing drives on the perimeter. That's pretty hard to just completely change two positions. Can you tell, Sam, that I like Will Cheddar?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love it. He's willing to do whatever his team asks him to do. And which one will he be better suited to be more successful at doing? Because I think for this team, his three-point shooting is going to be a weapon. And so will he be defensively more sustainable as a guy who could be a sort of a 3-4 as opposed to a guy who you threw out there as a backup 5? What do you think, Tim? I mean, where is it going to work better? I think we are going to see some games this year where we see Will Cheddar go off.
There's no doubt. And remember last year, there were so many times we would get frustrated with Will Cheddar's lack of perimeter defense. Well, in his defense, when someone would drive by him, there wasn't much resistance at the rim.
Right.
This year, when somebody gets by him, let's just say there will be resistance. Okay. He's got shot blockers behind him that's going to make him a little bit more aggressive trying to cover the perimeter. I think if you know there's a shot blocker behind you, you've got more of a green light to get out there and try to cover the 3-point line, try to be a more aggressive contained guy.
Yeah. And look, he's not going to be this super quick, be able to stay in front of everybody guy, but his body's different. Like you can see, he moves around better on the floor, and that's going to help him. And again, he is, you can see him looking for his shot, and you can see them looking for him as well. I just think that is going to translate on the offensive end of the floor. Really, really exciting to see, and it's about to get real now, and they're getting some. I think was it the Athletic Ira that someone called them the number 1 team in the country.
The Athletic had him at number 1.
Joe Lunardi.
Yeah, put him number 1.
And Lunardi picked him to win the championship.
Now that I didn't see. I don't know how you feel about that one, Tim. I don't know how super. Well, Tim McCormick was. Look, if Tim McCormick is talking Final Four, because you guys got to know Tim. Tim is not one to be like, yeah, this, we're going all the way. He is very even keel. We got to see some things, but this team, for months now, he said, no, they're really good. This team can go a long way. This team is better than last year's team. So if Tim's saying that, I tend to take what we're hearing from national pundits who don't see the team nearly as much. I still tend to take what they're saying as, hey, they might not be that far off base, Tim. Still, though, are you superstitious as you start to hear those national pundits start to say, hey, number 1 team in the country, national champs?
A lot of smart guys that know the game and can see talent. If they say that Michigan is a team that has Final Four potential, why not? I see it. That doesn't mean that they're not going to have some bumps. Against Oakland and that zone, that's going to cause some problems. There's going to be times that people are saying, I'm not impressed. They're not moving the ball. They're turning it over. That's going to be really interesting because that zone can force 20 turnovers in a heartbeat. And so watch the game on Monday because that's going to be very telling on if this team really is turnover prone.
Yeah, real quick, Tim, just Michigan defensively. How do you think, what do you think is going to be their style of play? I mean, are they going to be a hard hedge team? Are they going to be are they going to play drop coverage? I mean, how are they going to defend ball screens as we get into the season? I know that's one of the things that we were wondering about in our discussions just internally. We haven't even got a chance to talk to Dusty about that, but what do you think about this team defensively? They're going to block shots, but when they try to pull those guys away from the rim, for instance, how do you think they're going to defend? Just overall defensive philosophy for this team.
Lendeboer can cover anybody. He's a very gifted defender. Merez Johnson is a great hard hedge defender. He's going to be very active. He can really move his feet. I think that there are certain players that he can go ahead and switch. You can switch 1 through 5 if he's your big guy with Lendeboer. At this time, Mara is a drop cover guy, and I don't see them switching with him or hard hedging. I think he's just a rim protector. There's gonna be a lot of opportunities for growth, and I would think that against Oakland and against Wake Forest, you're going to see some experimentation. Just starting to get ready for some of those bigger, more difficult games where you need a deep bag of defensive options.
Yeah, last one for you. So Tom Izzo was in the news recently. I don't tend to agree with Tom about much, but I agree with him. I agree with him on something. He was talking about this new NCAA rule that allowed for a couple of G League players to have college eligibility restored. So one of the guys had played in the G League, Tim, for 3 years. And now suddenly he's had his college eligibility restored. So G Leaguers, veteran G Leaguers, now suddenly college basketball players. What do you think about this new precedent that has been set? Is this a good thing for the future of college basketball? How do you feel about that moving forward?
It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in basketball. You know, Malik Beasley can't get a contract. Let's let him play. Okay. Where do we go from here? We're taking guys that are professionals that have gone through the draft combine, that have been drafted or had a chance to try out. They played in the summer league. It's ridiculous. No, absolutely not.
See, you and I both agree with Tom Izzo.
That's right.
Come on, man. This is going to muddy the waters. You know, for coaches are going to take advantage of it. You get a veteran G leaguer versus going to grab another recruit. It's going to lessen opportunities for some college basketball players because what coach would want to fill out his roster with a vet who could really come in and help his team. I mean, it's a tough thing.
I mean, you're bringing in guys that have already activated their pension. Like they don't have to worry about NIL. Yeah. Sam, remember, even though it's Halloween, I don't want you putting on a helmet and pads and dressing up like a football player. You're too old to trick or treat. You just stay home and pass out the candy. Do you do the little tiny candy bars or the big ones?
We do the little tiny ones. We do the little tiny ones because we did a lot. We got a lot of kids coming by too, man. So yeah, so we got the little parade going through the neighborhood with the kids as well. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween to you too, Tim. Appreciate you as always, folks. Thanks for watching. When we come back next time, we'll be breaking down actual game action. So looking forward to that. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the Michigan Basketball Insider. And now we got to get to a break. Be back on the other side here